All right, we're going to get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Don Saucier. I'm the Faculty Associate Director of our Teaching and Learning Center here at K-State. You found your way to our professional development series, and we're so excited to see you. For those of you watching asynchronously later, we're excited to see you too. We just don't know who you are just yet. But we're very excited that you're accessing this event. We have a professional development series that meets every week. It'll be noon on Zoom in real time. We also archive our events on our webpage, so there'll be a recording that we'll post later about this event. So you will want to direct your colleagues to it because today's event is going to be great. We also award professional development certificates, both for graduate students as well as for faculty and staff. One of my colleagues is going to drop that information for you in the chat. And for those of you who are faculty members, we also allow for TLC fellows. So you can apply to potentially be a TLC fellow. And if so, you'll probably be in this series next year as a presenter. I think, well, it's been the case for at least one of our presenters today, possibly both. So we're very excited about that. I'll also let you know we have a TLC Hub. Your TLC Hub is a Teams channel for the TLC where we do a lot of communication about our upcoming events, and also the possibility you can drop a question in there and your colleagues can kind of crowdsource answers and those sorts of things. We'll also have that information dropped into the chat for you here in just a little bit. Next week's event is going to be kind of the third event in our little mini series on student and faculty experience. We started it last week when I talked about teaching about controversial material in our classes. We're going to continue it today, and I'll introduce them in just a second. But then next week, we'll have an event by Lindsay Berger and Chris Bowman on connecting for health, tackling the effects of loneliness. And that will be something during kind of the week of the month of wellness that the Wildcat Pause Day is part of and those sorts of things. So very excited about that event next week. But today we're super excited because we have Dr. Carrie Lane and Dr. Natalie Barlett from Psychological Sciences, my home department. And they're going to be talking about well-being inside and outside the classroom. Doctors Barlett and Lane, thank you so much for being here. The floor is yours.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. All right. Yeah, this works. All right, so as Dawn mentioned, whoops, I'm not terribly Zoom proficient, so all right, let's see. All right, today Natalie and I are going to take turns. I'm going to start where I'm going to present information on well-being inside the classroom, both from the faculty and the student perspective. And then Natalie will shift us into how to sustain that outside of the classroom. So I've done several talks for you guys where I've talked about mindfulness in the classroom, and I use it as a reset moment at the beginning of class. So I thought, so we can all be present, because I'm going to start with presence in this moment together, that I would do the one that is the student's favorite with you guys. So I can't see everybody, but if you all want to just like get comfortable in your seat, take a deep breath in and let it go really slowly. Just like in the classroom, if you don't want to participate, you don't, but I really strongly recommend that you just stop doing whatever you're doing. If you're eating lunch or grading homeworks or thinking about something else, in this moment, we're just going to all come together. The one that I'm going to do is one that the students actually recommended. It's a combination of a visualization and a grounding. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about a place that you're really comfortable, somewhere that arguably you have lots of positive emotions. You feel maybe relief or relaxed or happy. It could even be a place that you wish you could be at, like the beach, a place, a vacation you went on that you loved. So I know some of you can't visualize in your mind. Maybe you could just think about it. Like think about every aspect of that situation. And if you can visualize, really see yourself in that space. Take a deep breath. Now that you're in that place, I want you to, we're going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, what are 5 things that you can see in this space that you feel so comfortable in, or a place that you're just happy, content to be in? So, what are 5 things you can see? While we're doing this, make sure you're taking slow, deep breaths. What are 4 things you can hear in this space? What are 3 things you can feel? So it might be what you're wearing in this space, might be something you feel there as well. What are two things you can smell? And what is one thing you can taste? Now I'd like you to take another deep breath in. And as you blow it out, really relax into your chair. And I want you to think about what you hope to get out of this presentation today and have that intention in mind as we move forward. All right. So I think that a lot of times positive psych or well-being and happiness research people can think of it as something extra or superficial like self-care or toxic positivity, which is just not real emotions. It's like platitudes. Hope you're doing well, but like they don't really care, right? It's those signs people put in their house that don't get down to the deeper level. What the way that Natalie and I think about well-being is that it is foundational. It is the ground that we teach from, that we exist from. And it's important because students will do well. They'll be able to take risks in your class, feel safe, learn things more deeply when they feel supported. And when we take care of ourselves, we come into a space where we feel connected and we thrive and we don't feel as like our energy and our resources are being drained as much. And so really they're equally connected. When students are well in our classes, it helps us to feel greater well-being. And when we feel greater well-being, it gives students a space to show up as themselves and to move forward um, and take risks. So the way the talk is going to be structured today is presence, connection, and sustainability. And I came across a book called The Present Professor, and it's by Elizabeth Norrell, and she published it in 2024. And at the end of our presentation, we have these resources, but she has so many great resources in that book and from many different sources, even outside of academia, through business, like she pulls it all in. But essentially, she starts by talking about this idea that if we can't show up and be present in the moment, and especially in the classroom, then it's going to be very difficult for the students to learn and also for us to be able to teach on the level that we want. She sometimes uses the word transformational learning. And so I wanted to go through some of these tools that can help us be more present. The first one, and this is something that you'll see crossover between some of the talks you might have already experienced with the TLC. The first one is authenticity cues. So this idea of showing up as yourself. And I think, I know I've heard Dawn talk about it, but this idea that sometimes you have a teaching persona, but the really important part of that is that your persona isn't some fictional character that you think a professor should be like. And it's not a bulletproof or robot version of yourself to kind of protect yourself. And she in the book talks about this a little bit as well, that there are some minorities or groups of people that it is going to be harder for you to show up as you truly are and feel safe. And so obviously you have to determine what that looks like for you. What is the closest authentic version of yourself that you can show up in the classroom and you still feel safe, but also it's not false because the students can feel that falseness. So she has quite a few ways. Like if you're not sure who you are yet and you're early in your career, then she has different suggestions for how you can kind of get to that place. This next thing, naming triggers. So like when you're actually in the classroom and you want to be present in the moment, one of the things that you need to think about in advance is what do the students do that kind of bring you out of your presence. So it could be that seeing them on their phones or them having really active conversations or someone walking in late. So you can set up boundaries in advance. Like you can, as a class, come up with classroom rules, or you could put them in the syllabus. And I think the most important part is not that there's just a bunch of rules, but you talk about how it helps with learning to have these things in place, right? Like it keeps everyone from being distracted. But I think beyond initial boundaries, students are always going to make, like, they're just still going to do some of these things. So you need to know what that feels like in your body so that when it does happen, you can decide how you're going to handle it. And one of the things you can do is the next one, which is the micropause. Like, just take a deep breath, and like that can help your body, and the stress you're feeling. It can help you kind of release it. And then in a more calm state, you can decide how you want to handle it. If you just want to ignore it, maybe address it in a class announcement. But that will help you stay kind of fully you in the moment. This idea of micro pauses, anytime, it could be at the beginning of class, but anytime that you need to kind of, like before this talk, I micro paused a couple times. I wanted to be present, but I was also having a lot of anxiety. And so I think it's like breathing is really powerful, and we don't deep breathe hardly at all in our lives. We've shallow breathe our life away. The last part here is this idea of resets. I've been studying this idea of mindfulness and groundings, visualizations, breathing techniques, but there are many other ways that you can show up with a reset where you can all come together. So I started with mindfulness and I engaged in those practices. But to be completely honest with you, part of me being authentic to myself is I got bored. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at the beginning of every class, I started to hate it. And so I was like, I can't do it. Even though I liked it, it became mundane. So this semester, I've started something new, and I'm just doing it in my Gen Psych class. But I have mindfulness Mondays because I like alliteration, well-being Wednesdays, and favorite Fridays. And so I'm trying out like different things that still feel true to me. When I first started mindfulness, I actually didn't know if it was going to work for me. So, like, I would say, if you're not sure if it's for you, try something out. And then if it doesn't feel right, like it, I think it took a couple classes for me to feel completely at ease doing it. And even when I try a new one, I still feel sort of weird. Um, but I thought maybe if you wanted to drop into the chat, what are some of the ways that you are present in the classroom, or things you might do at the beginning of class that could give people ideas of what they could do to kind of start out their classes? I can't see the chat. So, Nat, do you want to say what, if there's things in the chat, do you want to read them out?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Shayna has casual chats with students.
Awesome.
Like that. Play music based on the day's lecture. Oh, I want to do
That's cool.
that. No. Oh, the same welcome. Dawn starts with the same welcome. I do too. It's like my trigger to the day.
To say welcome.
The same welcome. Like you start the same words every class. I do
Oh,
too. Mm-hmm.
nice.
Yeah, and
Okay,
like,
then they know things are getting started.
yeah, and I do too.
So sometimes even just like
Check-ins.
they
Oh
like it
yeah,
if
we
I
have a few more
dim the light.
check-ins and social emotional learning check-ins. The
Yes, those are good
memes on
too.
the Beth, we're gonna do one of those in a minute.
Yeah. So I
Perfect.
think like they have me dim the lights in the classroom, and I think just like they're going all the time, and you can figure out what works for you. But like if you're a humor person, maybe you start with a meme at the beginning of class or something that's related to the content. So figure out what works for you and then make that sort of how you move forward. In terms of connection, very quickly, I would say that this book and also The Kindness Pedagogy, by Catherine Denial, I think is how you say her last name. Both of these books, the Kindness Pedagogy was recommended at Wakanzi, which Natalie's going to bring up later. But it's sort of this idea that for the kindness pedagogy, it's justice, believing students and believing in students is sort of her framework. But it goes to this unconditional positive regard. Like, how can we connect with our students? We can assume that students are trying. Like, just start with like the best. Like, I going to see the best in you, right? You prove me different. In terms of relational reflection, just thinking like, I thought about this a lot. So when I first started teaching in 2006 as a PhD, students were different, right? Like our students are not normally taking 4 years. They're taking so many hours a semester, plus they're working so many hours just to pay for school. And I think about like just the time that they don't have to kind of commit to things. So having this compassion and openness to what students might be going through can kind of help you connect. And then this idea of community builders, um, these are so like I start a lot of my classes with a bunch of icebreakers, not just on the first day, but like this favorite Fridays that I'm doing. Um, jumping ahead, they I just like I asked them one week, like, what was your favorite vacation? And then what's a place in Manhattan that you love eating at? Like I have first semester freshmen, so I figure they might not know all the places in Manhattan. And then it's like 135 people, so they do little shares. And then people who are brave enough share out to the whole class. And I share with them my favorite vacation and the place I love to eat most. And you can tell there's just a difference in the vibe in the classroom. I would also say like I asked Dawn like how to kind of pump up the energy, which is another way that like you can connect. And so sometimes I just ask really silly questions. Like I have one on like what's any in there and it's usually like 30 seconds. What's one thing you wish you could ask Freud if he was here in the room with us? And so like some of the things they say are crazy, but it's a way to kind of get us into that space together. I would say the last thing I kind of want to say before I ask you guys to kind of chime in is that we talk a lot about the students connecting with each other, but I think we don't often talk about how important it is for us to feel connected to the students. And if you're not connected to your class, then you kind of dread going into that space. So my favorite classes have been the ones where I felt like I was connected to them. And then the classes, I can't wait to go be with those students that I feel connected to. So I think when you're having them share, like you do too, like I share my favorites, I talk to them, like some of you are already doing that in your spaces as well. So we can just do one of these for time's sake. What do you think your students, like just answer one of them in the chat. What do you think your students seem to need most? Or you can put in a connection activity if you have that.
I say while we wait for people to think of things, I took from Beth actually did the name tents in one of these talks, and now every small class we do name tents, and then inside we exchange questions and answers back and forth for 4 class periods. So, oh, Beth just put name tents. I was like, yes, Beth, I borrowed that from you. Let's see. Don thinks students need to feel seen and heard. Absolutely.
Something
Ooh.
I do for connection with my students each semester is I have them do classmate interviews where I put them in groups of 2 or 3 and have them talk to each other. This semester, they felt even more overwhelmed than usual, so I actually took class time to do it, and we walked over to Hale Library so that they could do that in a space outside of the classroom. And they could go anywhere in the library that wasn't a quiet space to talk. And I provided them with, gosh, about 50 questions and said, you can ask each other these questions or not. I just want you to talk and get to know each other. And I paired them up. At this point in the semester, I know them a little better. Since I don't have a huge class, I know that can be harder if you have hundreds of students, but paired them up with someone I thought they would connect with for a particular reason. And then I just had them on Canvas write a real brief paragraph reflection on what was it like to talk to that person. And it really changes the dynamics of the classroom in terms of them feeling like they know each other better. And I just go sit in the entrance to Hale and I'm like, check out with me in the last 5 minutes of class. And they tend to make friends. They tend to end up sitting in different places in the classroom after we do that activity because I pair them with someone they don't usually sit next to. And it really just makes a huge difference for them. it's well worth the class time to do. It tends to be one of their favorites.
That's really cool. Were there any other things that you wanted to read out for anybody who's watching the video later?
Yeah, I was just going to say Marcy kind of agrees with Don that not only the students need to feel seen and heard, so do the department heads. Because she's leading a group of department heads. That's right. We all need to feel seen and heard. So
It doesn't matter
and
the age, the status, the gender. That's what everyone needs. How are you feeling? What is going on?
yes,
And then you create that comfortable space and they can really, get what they get the resources they need to lead. So absolutely
yes,
agree.
absolutely.
Should I keep going?
Yeah, you can keep going.
Okay. The last thing before Natalie takes over is just talking about this idea of how can we make it last. And I think sustainability, when we're already feeling so spread thin, but for so many different reasons, is maybe part of why, like the key of what's most important. And I think you can kind of set up your foundation and structure so that, like, the first one is to clarify what matters most. So you need to think about what your values are in the classroom, or even this could be any space you're in, but this was directed for the classroom. But meaning, like, do you value connection over coverage? Like Don, when he went to Okunzi learning about teach less better, like that is a place for me to maintain my well-being. Arguably, I also I know for myself, if I'm not excited about the material, I feel more apathetic. So I make sure for every single class, there's one thing that I'm excited to share with the class. And in some cases, classes that used to just like, oh, feel so painful. They're now, and like some of them are fun. I don't know, not all of them ever make that place, but figure out what matters to you. And then you can kind of set up your class that way. Also healthy boundaries. And I think Dawn and Andy have talked about this before, but you need to work on like maybe setting email boundaries for yourself. Like I'm not going to email, like maybe you want to get your emails done, but you set them to send at 8 a.m. the next morning. So students don't think you're going to talk to them after 5 or whatever. Also, this is hard, and Natalie and I talk about this all the time, but saying no to things. If you are feeling dread about something, most likely it's not something you want to do. That's kind of your body's way of letting you know. But even the things, it's usually the things I want to do that I have the hardest time with. And so you need to be real with yourself. What do you really have time to do well? And make sure that you're not putting yourself in a poor position. That's probably my hardest thing. Like every semester, I'm like continually reworking things in my classes and decreasing my own well-being. But support student sustainability. So I have a couple suggestions, and one of them is in the resources at the end. But when we went to Okunzi, one of the things we learned about was something called TILT, which just has to do with transparent handouts and things like that that you're giving the students. But you can go to the website and it kind of tells you how to do everything. But I've started using it this semester, and I've noticed that so like it changes how the handout is set up, but then it also has like you have rubrics and examples. So some of you might be doing versions of this already, but if the students have clear ideas of what needs to be done, they don't email you as much, or they're not making mistakes, and it's good for their well-being, but it also helps with you with your boundaries. I feel like I had a couple other things, but my brain is ready for Natalie to take over. See. Yeah. I think the other thing that I could say is that like you spend the beginning of the semester maybe getting to know people, but make sure you're doing little connections throughout the entire semester so you keep that feeling of connectedness going throughout the entire semester. So Nat, turn it over to you. Oh, I
Yay.
will in a second. Let me give you control.
Fine. Give me control. I love it. Hi, everyone. Yes, as they said, I'm Natalie, teaching assistant professor in Department of Psychological Sciences. And Carrie and I both actually teach happiness type courses. So this is very true to all facets of our lives, which when we were talking about bring this together, I thought, oh, I can bring, so I teach practicing happiness. So you're going to get elements from my practicing happiness course today in our little bit of time together. So thank you for being here so we can share it all with you too. Let me click on. Oh, I do have control. Yay. So, as we established, well-being for our students is very important. And if you're here, you're not going to argue that. But our well-being is important as well. So I feel like often we do in passing a quick, like, how you doing? But we expect someone to say, good, fine, tired, whatever, and keep walking. So it is important to check in. So on here, you can see my quick check-in for today, since we don't have time to really go through everyone's well-being, is to pick an emoji if you feel like it. Pick an emoji for how you're doing right now. And the little emoji box is right under type message here. I cannot wait to see everybody's. Yes. I want to add mine too. I found one earlier. This is exactly how I feel. So these are great. And if you're looking at chat, and for those watching later, it's full of faces, right? And there's no judgment here. It's how are you feeling? I really like the melting face because that is so, so consistent with week 6 of a semester. But these little check-ins are important, and they're important for you to do even on your own and just wait for a second and be like, okay, how am I doing right now? And just check in, right, with yourself, with others if you have the capacity, but definitely with yourself. Because what we know about well-being is there's a lot of parts of it you don't control, which I'm hoping is relief to some people that it's not all on your to-do list to control your well-being. But we know genetics play a role, your biology plays a role, as well as life circumstances that you don't always have control of. So while that's relieving, it's also nice to know that we also have some control. So in the well-being research, they argue that about 40%, up to 40% of your well-being is due to your intentional activities. So while the rest is genetics, biology, life circumstance, you do have some control in the well-being that you're experiencing. So, oh, it's delayed. Maybe because I'm controlling Carrie's computer from far away. So when we think about intentional activity, we call these positive actions in the world of well-being. And so I'm really curious, before I give you some ideas, what activities you already do that increase your well-being. So you can throw them in the chat or unmute and just throw them out there. Oh, everything's automatic. We're not supposed to give you hints. Oh, puzzle and friend game night. Absolutely. Music, workout. Kids. Oh, running, biking, CrossFit, walk. I love this. Watching your stream of activities come in makes me happy. Moving, sleep. Oh my gosh, Melissa. Yes, sleep. Sleep is so happy. Working out. Yeah, so this list in the chat is so wonderful. And I'm sure you all do many, many more things. But to take time to think about what are your intentional actions is huge. Some of the images on here are ones that in practicing happiness, we actually try out. So the point of that class, and I've taught a grad seminar on happiness, and we try out some of the research-backed ways to actually increase happiness to see if it truly works for everyone, because we're all unique. And so a lot of you have the exercise component. Nature is a huge one, being outside. It could be meditation, yoga, just being in your hobbies with your pets. Money is a big one as well, but so is that social interaction. So I like all of your responses. There are no wrong answers here. But I do want to let you know that while there's a whole host of things, if you're sometimes running out and you're like, oh, my well-being could really like use a boost right now, there is a website I just put in the chat that gives you more ideas. So Greater Good website through Berkeley has so many activities. So if you need that little well-being boost or want to try something new, just click on there. They'll give you so many options, even based on how much time you have. So some are 1 minute if you don't have a lot of time, like a lot of us do, to get you that well-being boost that you need. Now, while there's so many options, the professor side of me cannot let you be inefficient with your well-being increases. So to help you maximize that well-being boost that you get from your intentional activities, we can look at the positive activity model. And the model is complex, but at the top, you can just see this is the mediation piece. So on here, it's telling you why performing your positive activities actually increases your well-being. So what that performance is doing is typically increasing your positive emotions, thoughts, behaviors, and meeting your basic needs, which is autonomy, competence, and relatedness. So this explains why your actions are helpful. But what I want to help you all with, as I said, is to become more efficient. So the bottom of this model is our moderation piece. So this blue box at the bottom is intense, but it's going to show you all the factors that influence if and when an activity will work for you. And so on the right-hand side are things about you as a person that might make an activity helpful for you and not for your colleague. So there are instances, right, that some activities like meditation, yoga, for example, they work for some people and not for others. And if you're like, why not? Why doesn't it work for me? It's probably not personless. And that's okay, right? Because we really want person activity fit. But to make you more efficient with your well-being practices, I like to point out this activity feature box. So what this means is how you should be doing your activities. And again, I don't like to think of well-being as a to-do list, like, oh, self-care, have to do it, like check it off. No, that's counter, right, to what we're doing here. So if you want to fill in your space that you do have with well-being practices, this is telling you how to do it. The dosage has to do with how often. And the great news is, research actually shows if you do the same activity every single day, you start to lose benefit to your well-being of that activity. So dosing the activity that you do is very important. Meaning, if you want to start experimenting with gratitude, don't have to do that every day. You actually probably shouldn't actually do gratitude every day. The benefits are going to start to wear off. So maybe 1 week you do it 3 or 4 times, the next week once, right? It's okay. And I love that with the busy schedule, that it doesn't have to be every single day. The variety has to do with mixing up how you're engaging with it. So if you are going to practice gratitude, you could do that in so many ways. It could be just a walk from one classroom to the other, or one meeting to the other meeting, and you think about 2 things you're grateful for, right, in that moment. It could be journaling. It could be just talking to others, right, about what you're thankful for. It could even be writing a letter to someone, which we do in my Practicing Happiness class. They have to think about somebody that they're thankful for and put down in words why they're thankful for that person. And then you can deliver it or not. But that's a different way to practice gratitude to keep up the variety. Is the dosage effective for the same reason? Oh, yeah, I do think absolutely. So the effect of using the dosage, so it's not all the time, is for the fact that you don't kind of take it for granted, if that makes sense. Its effectiveness drops off if you're doing it every day, because then we start doing it mindlessly. And these are actions you have to do with intention to actually get the well-being boost. Yes, yeah, great question. With our activities, also, sometimes you might mix it up by doing it alone or with people. So that's up to you. But you can practice gratitude, as I said, with other people or by yourself. If you're going to try the exercise component that so many of you mentioned, sometimes maybe you exercise alone, sometimes with other people. And that can add to that variety as well. And then if you see the word trigger, that's on making it kind of a habit if you want that trigger to like set off, oh yeah, I need to do this. So you can instill in yourself, like pay attention to maybe when you really need that mindfulness practice, when your body tells you, oh, I need to go for a walk right now, and take that break. So with this, I know it's intense, right? I do love to point out that you can do whatever positive actions you want, which is very freeing, I think, but you can do them in a variety of ways. And so, with all of this in mind, and you're like, great, now there's so many things to do. If you still want to maximize efficiency, research shows that the number one intentional action you can do to boost your well being is to engage in quality relationships. Quality relationships are often the core of a lot of things that we've studied in the well-being world, that brings it back to a connection with another human. So these connections truly matter. And as Carrie said, for your students, for you and your students, but also you and the other adults, big adults, right, on this campus. So I put together a list of ways to connect on campus because it's hard. I don't care if you're new to campus, you've been here 25 years, people can still feel lonely and not have those quality connections, even though there's thousands of people on this campus. So this is just my list of ways that I've connected on campus. Starting my fourth year back here, I feel like I finally am finding a groove, to be able to help others. But of course, our TLC events, Carrie mentioned Wakanzi. So Wakanzi is teaching conference in May, and we became closer. I feel like Carrie and I traveling together, but also we met colleagues at K-State Salina who we now meet monthly for lunch. So I feel like there's true connection in stepping out with those. The Community Healing Hub, I didn't have a link for. I just met Shayna actually at their Community Healing Hub. So I have to promote those activities. We are a health promoting university and they have specialized committees if you're interested in getting involved. And then of course they said attending things. If you're introverted, by the way, find a buddy to take you. I like to be that buddy. So if you ever want to go to something, I'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll go. I'll talk to anybody. So I'll gladly take anyone to an event. But yes, what else would you all add? Because this is just my personal perspective of a list. Well, Shayna's coffee with others. Absolutely. Where else have you all met people? Where do you connect? And you can type it or just shout it out there.
So Natalie, I love hearing you say you're the extrovert and you will be the person's person. I love that. That's great. I am the person who will totally come to events like this and send somebody a direct message and say, hey, do you want to have coffee sometime? So I've found that putting myself out there has actually led to some really meaningful friendships, or I've in-person things. I will go up to someone after and say, I love the question you asked. Tell me more about that. And then we will end up meeting for coffee. So it's
Yeah.
it's something we have to have the 3 or 4-year-old on the playground in mind when they walk up to a total stranger who's on the slide and they like the slide too, and they're like, I like the slide, will you be my friend? Like we have to do the same thing as adults, and it's scary and weird, but most of the time it's worked out pretty well. So
I love that. It is the toddler mentality, right? They're not nervous. They're like, hey, I like that too. Yes, we should all be 3 or 4 year olds in our mindset because there's no fear. Okay, there's so many things in here. I want to come back up. Oh, I love Aggieville lunches. Actually, any reason to not have to bring my own lunch is a win-win. So connecting works too. Rick put the Wakunzi dates in there. Thank you, Rick. That's perfect. Yeah. Who wants to go to Wakunzi next? And I assume we'll talk about Wakunzi specifically again later, but it was such a great way to connect with our current local colleagues as well as meet other people passionate about teaching in general. TLC meetings. Oh, I know. Class schedule can get you on these. Absolutely. Serving on search committees. Yes, absolutely. Ooh, a TLC in person coffee friendship group date. That should be its name, Melissa. Absolutely. And I am all about the in-person meetings and even rotating campuses because I know there are our colleagues not just on main campus. So having times to just drop in and get together. TLC book clubs. Yes, yes. And actually, if anyone is free this Friday in the Union, I invited the Community Healing Hub group that I met last week to coffee at Redina's in the Union this Friday, 9:30, 9:30, 9? Shayna, what did I say? 9 to 10:30, I think. If anyone wants to stop by, we are truly just connecting. It is low key. You don't have to prep. Just look for me, and I will be drinking coffee and waiting for people to come talk to me. So please stop by. Absolutely. And I want to add people's ideas into the connection on campus before we share these out. Oh, I love silent book clubs, Shayna. Then you just sit with other people. That's quality too. Okay, I want to let oops, sorry. Carrie, do you want to explain any of your resources? Oh, you're muted.
When you took over the screen, I don't know how to get back to like when I would touch
Oh,
the screen, I would accidentally.
I saw that. That's okay.
Um, so these are just the kindness pedagogy, the present professor. These are just some old school like teaching to transgress or the courage to teach. These are just some older resources that you might have used in the past. And then the transparency and learning and teaching, that's the tilt method that Natalie and I learned about while we were at Wakunzi that I'm just like learning more about this semester and it's made a big difference. So those were the ones that I was mentioning. Also, I would say this Oklahoma Press or whatever that those two kindness and present professor came out of. They have some really cool books. They have some on AI. That's actually what I went to look at. It was a resource from Wakunzi, and I found these other books as well. So
Yeah, wonderful. And I added the Happiness Lab podcast on there. If you just want to hear more about well-being. We use the word happiness because it's catchy, but you don't have to feel happy all the time, right? We're actually talking about your overall well-being. So there's lots of great listens if you're a podcast person on there. Will you share a presentation? Absolutely, Beth. We have linked so many things on here. And I know we have 5 minutes if anybody has questions or anything else they want to share. We'll give the PowerPoint to Jeff so he can share it out.
So Natalie or Carrie, so one of the things about this is we got to do it, right? So do you have any kind of tips about how you make this easier and a habit for you and your students?
Mm,
easier.
So yes, I mean there's intention, right? And I know we've talked about,
Yeah.
do you do some of these things in class? Sometimes students are a little resistant, or we might say like sometimes I'll say, you know what, I'm being selfish if I take that time to do whatever. So how do we get
Oh,
past some of those resistances to make these habitual?
I think that's about deciding what your values are, right? Like part of the
Mm.
sustainability is you have to decide, like I had to make the decision that that reset was valuable. Like it changed the classroom dynamics for me. And because of that, I decided that I'm going to take 5 minutes out of my precious 50-minute class, no matter what. And when you make that decision, then and I tell them why I do it. So they want to buy in too. Like you have to start with them at the beginning, making sure you're all on the same page. I like, and then I keep bringing it up. So like as I talk about the neuroscience or what I like, I'm like, and this is how this isn't with mindfulness, or this is why we do well-being. Like I just keep reiterating, and I let them know like um, how much I care about them regularly. Like I work it into everything it's just like part of how I approach them. So I think it's just, you have to have a strong structure. Like it's built into your syllabus, it's built into your frame, like your philosophy, right? So it's probably in your syllabus. Yeah. So, Nat?
Yeah, I will tackle the more personal side of that, and I'm not a perfect person to be like, oh, she does all the well-being things. No, I know so much about it, and yet I have a day where I feel like I'm melting, right? And maybe not smiling. I saw those emojis into the ground. I think what's most valuable is just when you have the capacity to create your toolbox and that's what I tell my students, create your toolbox of the things that work for you when you have the capacity to experiment and have fun and try them out. And then when I check in and I'm like, oof, I'm not doing so well right now, I'm like, which one of those tools am I going to use? And I have some that take a second, some that take a little bit longer. Maybe it is asking for me. It's often asking somebody to meet up for coffee or lunch because that is my way to boost my well-being. But have your toolbox ready. And then when you check in and say, oh, I need that, that's when you can pull something. I think fits in versus making it the perfect habit.
I would also say that when I think about well-being, I don't just talking about feeling positive emotions. Like
Mm-mm.
I think it's about feeling all of your feelings. And so when I'm having a rough day in class, I don't like trauma dump on them, but I let them know like I'm not going to be false, right? Like today I was feeling really scattered unfortunately, and I just let them know I'm a little off today, guys, but I want to be real with them, and so they can show up being real, and whatever emotions they're having, I want them to be able to just feel both positive and negative feelings.
Yeah. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah. Beth said she participates in her check-ins too. She wants them to know
Yeah.
that like it's good for them to see us as human. And they can model it. So like one day, and several semesters ago, I needed a mental health day. Like my outside life right now is sometimes really kicking my butt. I have a really sick mom, and I needed to take a day. So that's what we did. We took a day.
Yay. Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for sharing your time with us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for both for being here and for being a real highlight. I think 'cause we just started October. October is a heavy month. We're 6 weeks into the semester, and I think you did a great job in kind of helping us get where we need to be in the right headspace, and our students too. So thank you so much for your contributions to our PD series today.
Thanks for taking the time to come.
And for those of you in the audience, we'll drop a link to a post-event survey so you can let us know how you thought this went. Also, we'll be posting the video of this online probably a little bit later today, so you can direct your colleagues to it because I think this was great. Next week, we'll continue our student and faculty experience kind of mini series within our professional development series. Chris Bowman and Lizzie Berringer are going to be talking about connecting for health, tackling the effects of loneliness. Remind you, we give out professional development certificates and we drop those into that information into the chat. and we'll see you next Wednesday. Looking forward till then. So thank you so much for taking some time for our PD series. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon.